Hi there, happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about growing expectations in growing relationships. So we're talking about personal or business or whatever. It doesn't matter where the domain is that you have these relationships. But talking about what happens when we are in relationship with someone for, an extended period of time and the expectations that we hold for them as the relationship continues to grow. So, oftentimes when I'm working with, like couples that have been together for a very long time, or, of even professional relationships, partners that have been together for a really long time, there sometimes ends up growing like after a certain amount of time, they, what is it, like the 7 year itch and all that kind of stuff, right? That after so many years or so much time together, we can start to grow resentment. There can be resentment growing towards our partner or whoever this person is that we're in a relationship with. And some of the commonalities that I'm noticing when this resentment comes up after an extended period of time, something that becomes really, really obvious is that the expectations that we are setting for this person after an extended period of time is very different than the expectations we had for them in the beginning of the relationship, when we were curious, getting to know them. Maybe if it is romantic, maybe the puppy love stage and all that kind of stuff. Noticing the difference in expectations that we have for people in the beginning of our relationship with them, and then after an extended period of time. And noticing how different are those expectations. And sit with this in a moment, like what I'm asking you to do right now is, in this moment, as you hear me saying this, there's a big difference in expectations between when you first meet someone and after we've been there for a long time. Notice what is coming up for you. What are the thoughts that are coming up? What are the physical sensations? What are the emotions? What is coming up for you as I talk about this discrepancy in expectations for people? Is there a resistance? Is there something saying, yeah, of course I expect more of them because we're in a deeper relationship? And that may be true, that expectations might change a bit as, our relationship changes, like insert a pet and expectations are going to be different, that there's a shared, responsibility there. Insert, whatever those big life decisions are. Of course, new expectations will be put into the mix. But as those new expectations are put in, are we altering those older expectations as well? Are we looking for bigger and better because we know them more? Have our expectations changed in such a way that they just keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing to the point where maybe we've maxed out their capabilities? I feel it's very, very important to take a look at what your expectations are for this person now versus what they were in the beginning. So that's one aspect of what we're talking about, is making sure that we're periodically checking in with our expectations for them and making sure that they're still realistic, that they still are compatible with the person they are. Sometimes we change our expectations and turn them into something so different than what the person is capable of. And we knew what they were capable of when we decided to enter in relationship with them. But now all of a sudden, because we're in relationship for so long, we assume that we expect more of them or different of them, but they're still the same person. So we have to be careful that our expectations are not growing simply because we want more because we've been in relation with them longer, versus taking a look at who they are and what their capabilities are. The second downfall to expectations, one is this creeping increase in expectations. So we don't always acknowledge that have changed over the years. So one is this creep in one issue that comes up and causes us hurt. The person with the expectations is the one that gets hurt, not the person not meeting them, the person with them, right? And so there's this creeping expectation thing that can happen that we're not acknowledging as it's happening, and then we look back 10 years and it's like, oh shoot, yeah, I'm totally expecting way more of them than I have in the beginning. We're not the other mistake that we can run into is not defining our expectations outwardly and clearly towards the person, assuming that they will know what those expectations are. Because we've been together for so long, you should know by now what my expectations are. Sound familiar? And then that's when you have to look, are they in fact the same today as they were then? Or are you expecting them to grow and expecting them to keep up with your growth? And lives have changed over this time. Things have changed. And so it is important to revisit and renegotiate these expectations in a very clear outward way. If you're finding that your expectations are not being met and you are repeatedly hurt by someone else, the first question I ask my clients is, have you had this conversation? Have you clearly defined the, smart goals that you have for them? Right? Like, is it timely? Is it specific? Is it like all those things, right? Like making sure, is the communication super clear as to what your expectations are today? Because chances are they are different than they have been on other days. And if they say yes, I've told them, man, right? What mood was that conversation had? Was it during the fight about your expectations not being met? Well, chances are nothing's being absorbed during that time. So making the time to quantify your expectations. If you are not able to give specific parameters around your expectations, or if you feel that, I've heard this sometimes too, it feels embarrassing for me to have to say it out loud, or it feels like I shouldn't have to say it out loud. Okay, but then you can't expect to get something you haven't asked for. And if it's embarrassing, if you feel like you shouldn't say it out loud, what's the reason for that? Is that because you know that the expectation is too high? What is the resistance to being clear? Because sometimes having to ask for it is enough of an eye opener to let us know, maybe it is us. Maybe we are asking for too much. Maybe we are asking for something that they're not capable of. Maybe we're asking for something new that we never voiced before. So as always, it is about looking on ourselves and our roles in this relationship and making sure we are covering all of our bases to prevent our own hurt. Because again, when they're not reaching our expectations, they're not the one getting hurt, we are. So it's time to take control over that hurt and do all of the things that you can do to A, make sure that your expectations for other people are valid, that they're not overreaching, and they're in alignment with who that person is and what their capabilities are. Making sure they're realistic, not just in general, not just for you, but you may have very different capabilities than them. So are the expectations realistic according to who that person is? And then have you communicated it clearly with very clear parameters and boundaries? Have you very clearly voiced deadline, specificity, the why, all of those things. As always, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to talk about next. And I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.